but I would tell you this also. You know, when I used to travel and I come home, you know, all 4 kids wanted my attention. And, you know, my kids would be running to me, just getting out of the car with my suitcases. And I would push the first kid and the second kid and the third kid and the fourth kid. And I always went straight to my wife.
Oh, yeah.
And she got my first kiss every single time. My kids today respect me so much for that. I was like, Daddy, thank you for showing us that. That at the time, it really bothered us. Today, we realized just how important that was. And man, that always makes me choke up a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen you and your wife together, and you guys are sweet as, 20-year-old, like kids that just met. What's the secret there? I mean, like, how have you done that?
Yeah, so, a lot of people probably don't know the story. I met my wife a week later. We're engaged.
I did not know that.
2 weeks after that, we were married.
Wow.
We just celebrated our 27th anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. And, there's not a single day that goes by. And I love text, and I take advantage of it. Not a single day goes by, Brandon, I don't text my wife and I let her know how much I love her, how grateful I am for her, how amazing of a wife that she is. I mean, not a day goes by. And the same is true with my kids. Not a single day goes by that I don't let them know just how precious they are in my life, how, this one of my oldest kids, I always refer to him as my superhero, and every single one has, their own little nicknames, but they hear from me daily, and they hear from me. They also get scripture from me, a verse from the Bible that just reconnects them, and it just makes us a stronger family when we do that. I've never betrayed my wife's trust. I think having that level of not only love but trust. And respect. I respect her opinion. I would tell you, in 27 years, there's a lot of things that, over time that, her and I disagreed on, but we've always found a common ground, except one, right? In 27 years, there's only one thing her and I never agreed upon. And you know what that is?
What's that? When
it came time to prosecute.
Oh.
And my wife wanted to put them all behind bars and let them rot in hell, as she called it. I struggled with that.
Yeah.
I said, baby, I can't.
Yeah.
I said, looking back, I says, I don't appreciate, it was the hardest thing just watching your cars, being towed on tow trucks and just leaving and, foreclosed on properties and just losing a lot of the materialist things. It was hard. But it was also at the same time the greatest gift that I could be given, because what it did is it brought me closer to God, so much closer than I ever thought possible. And I said, baby, how could I want to hurt them? How could I want to punish them? How could I, if they actually gave me the greatest gift, if God used them to bring me closer to Him, how could I be upset with them? And I'm one that believes in Judgment Day. I think every single one of us has to answer when that day comes. But it wasn't for me to decide. And I just felt like it was a gift that they had given me. And if God used them, I don't want to hurt them. And actually, not a year later, I saw one of the presidents at the airport. I gave him a hug. Wow. And my wife was so mad. I was like, what are you doing? How could you do that? It was, like she was animated a little bit about it.
Wow.
But.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that level of forgiveness.
Yeah, where's that really come
matters.
from? I mean, is that just, have you always been a forgiving guy, or is that something feel like God's been working in your heart for a little?
Yeah, I've always been a loving guy and a trusting guy, but I never really understood the Bible. Every attempt that I ever made to read the Bible, I struggled with. Right. So if you said, Adel, today was your last day, would you go to heaven? Before I was here, absolutely. I've never hurt anyone. I never cheated anyone. I never took advantage of anyone. God knows my heart. I pray every night, so of course I'm going to go to heaven. But every attempt, Brandon, that I made to read the Bible, I struggled, honestly, especially when I began with Genesis. And I would read, so-and-so lived to be 850 years, and so-and-so 900 years, and so-and-so, and begotten so-and-so who begotten so-and-so. I struggled.
Yeah.
And it was like, who was keeping record, right? I mean, my grandfather's only 2 generations ago. Until today, they're still debating whether he lived to be 96 or 106. There's some people that think he had 4 siblings. There's others that think they have 5.
Yep.
So it was like I struggled, and I would put the Bible down. I was like, God, please forgive me. I don't want to sin. I don't want to question you. I know who you are. I feel you in my heart. There's not an ounce that I believe in you. I struggle with reading it.
Sure.
And the only way I could describe it is, imagine you're in downtown LA. You're driving your car and your car breaks down. The chances of you pulling over and opening the glove box and start reading the owner's manual, how to fix your car, is pretty slim, right? Well, you could call AAA or your favorite garage. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
But what if you're in the middle of nowhere on a dark, deserted road and no one in sight and you have no reception, let alone you have no phone? What's the likelihood you're going to open the box and start reading your owner's manual? And to me, that's what the Bible really, truly is to me. It is the owner's manual. And when I took it, because I was on my darkest road of my life, I was in my darkest moment of my life, and I was like, God, I need to understand. And I read it. I got clarity that I never thought possible. It was the greatest book that I ever read, because I'm an inventor, and when I invented something and somebody wanted to know about it, you know what they did? One of 2 things: either A, picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Adel, this thing you invented, tell me how it worked," right? But if I wasn't around, guess what they did, Brandon? They went to an owner's manual and read it. And for me, if you really truly understand the Bible and you read it with an open heart, an open mind, knowing that it's inspired by God, but written by man, right? I mean, man, science says we use 8, 9, 10% of our brains, 11% for Einstein's, but it's written by man, right? Who uses that capacity of their brain, but it's truly inspired by God. And may I share with you this, Rocky? I call it. So I had bankrupted company. That was the toughest day of my life, and I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I felt like I was the one that was a failure. I felt like I let my family down that was depending on me. And a lot of people were actually depending on me. I just felt like I felt so many people down, and that was like a really low part of my life. I was just the darkest time of my life, I would say.